Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Unfortunately, Ian Fortune is still away. He will be back next Friday and Saturday night in Shelbourne Park. He loves these breaks. You can see Tommy shaking his head. He always seems to be away, but I am joined by two show regulars, Sarah Kinsella. Sarah, good evening. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, I had a very busy weekend, very enjoyable, some brilliant racing. So, getting going now to cover it all. We've a lot to cover, but I'm sure you will do an even better job than Ian Fortune.
Oh, I love that. Can we end the show right now? Yeah, it's not going to get any better than this. Tommy, how's things with you?
Oh, fabulous. It's just mad busy between horse racing and greyhound racing. There's so much on covering over the space of maybe 3 or 4 days. But it seems to be like that every weekend at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's flying. And don't forget the Euros. And we'll say no more about Rory McIlroy. I believe he gave it away last night. But we're here to talk about greyhound racing. And the main event of the weekend was the Sporting Press online edition, Irish Oaks at Shelbourne Park. And it's safe to say it's a race that we certainly will not be forgetting in the near future. There was nothing to separate a Lucky Julie and Flasherade in the end. It was a terrific contest. It was a little bit tight for room around the opening bend. I suppose Droopy's Mandolin ran off and didn't get the best of luck. There was a couple of hard luck stories in the race, but yeah, look, it took a while for the judge to try to separate them. He couldn't separate them in the end. It was Flash Array out in front, but the storming finish of a Lucky Julie on the outside forced a dead heat on the line. Tommy, I'll start with you. It was a terrific contest. Doesn't get much better than this. It was the second time I got to commentate on an Oaks, and I put up on Twitter in the evening if it's as good as the Rahamofo and Scooby Princess one. It'll be hard to beat, but it was a real cracker there at Shelbourne on Saturday.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I just didn't realize the result of it. But no, Lucky Julie actually, I'm glad. I'm actually glad Lucky Julie was involved in the finish because she's been terrific. She's been kind of one of those bitches where you don't know what's going to happen. She tends to miss it, and then whatever happens when Short Grip is in five and she's in six, she tends to break a bit better for some reason. She has this kind of knack. So the other night she came from last to first to share the spoils. Faster is a Sarade. I'm not even sure how you pronounce that, but I'm sure it's Irish there somewhere.
Well, I
Um,
asked just on that point. I seen Mort in the car park on Saturday night, and I went down to him and I said, you know what? Because I'm commentating tonight, I need to find out is it Flas Arade or Flas Saraja. And I asked Mort, and I knew the answer I was going to get. It was it can't be repeated here, but he basically shrugged his shoulders and said he didn't know. But he said in the end, he said they call her Sarade at home. So yeah, we're going to go with Flas Arade.
Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. But shit, like, look at to be honest about it, like I mean, if you were ruling one them out straight away, she would have been the first because on the clock she couldn't win it. You know, she hadn't really done below. I think it was a 28.50 in round about the
Yeah.
28.50s was kind of her mark. She kind of looked stuck on it, but she ran a cracking race because she had Druby Fidget actually broke best and she had to force her way through at the first bend. And like then in a matter of strides, I know there was scrimmaging behind and all this sort of stuff, but like in a matter of strides, she went from just taking over in front to being about five, maybe 6 lengths clear at halfway. And yes, she was tied up and she kind of did her clock again. Now I think she's look at the likelihood. I think she'll be able to probably shave 20 or 30 spots off that in time. But it actually just made for a really good race because a lucky Julie, she tracked Ian talked about it quite a bit over the last few weeks. She tracks the first two bends really well. Lucky Julie, she doesn't tend to break, but she just runs those first two bends really well. And she went from completely last and to a share of second place. And even then, when she went back into third place, going to third bend, she just took off again as she always does. She there was one night, I say it was the first round, she kind of jinked in towards the rail and then back out again, lost all sorts of ground. And we talked about if it was a straight 5-2-5, she'd win by a mile because she had that sort of ability. But this time she just because there was a bitch inside her, was it Druby Dell, I think it was inside her, who was actually ran another superb race. She just stayed her middle to wide line and absolutely flew home. I mean, she was making ground hand over fist. I mean, I don't know what the story was and why it took so long and was the photo finish not working properly or what, but I don't think it's an unsatisfactory result in given the dead heat between the two bitches. Myrtle will be delighted to have another Oaks in the bag. And Jerry Amelia, it's a huge story, isn't it?
It's great for Jerry. He's been a long time fan of greyhound racing or a supporter of greyhound racing. It's great to see him get the result. But just to touch on the photo finish, yeah, even yesterday, I had lots of people text me, and so many people are adamant that one is held on, and so many people are adamant that six has got up. So I genuinely do think it's a really fair result. I looked at myself a couple of times. So the fact that it's still split a couple of hours after, or a couple of days
No,
even after the event, it really shows how tight it was. And I do think it was the right result. Sarah, just touching on Jerry Media's a lucky Julie. Maybe at the start of her career, she was sort of pigeonholed as a big finisher who didn't really start well. But three or four times in the last few weeks, she's actually flew the lids and she can come out well on occasions. And she's very hard to hold over 525. She should be even better when she steps up and trip.
Yeah, I can't wait to see her step up and trip. This lady is a true professional, and it's been a joy watching her progress throughout the competition, which is exactly what you kind of want to see in a competition like this. And she's just gotten better at the traps week after week. I napped her in the final. I genuinely, I was in the middle of the track recording the race, and I thought she was up, but that's easy for me to say from where I was standing. People on the stand thought one was up. That's the joy of this sport. Everyone has an opinion. It was absolutely painful wait, because per Mary Media, everyone was congratulating her at the pickup. So she came over sort of into the middle of the track, and it was taking that long. She was like, look, I'm going to go back in. She says, obviously it might be a dead heat if it's taken this long. And that was my first initial thought. If it's taken this long, it's 100% going to be a dead heat. So the wait was, painful, but it was worth it in the end. I stood beside Jerry Melia, gave him a big hug. I was like, you've just won the Oaks. I said, you've won it with someone else, but you've still won it. That's the main thing, and I interviewed him actually, for our web package afterwards with Vital. And I was saying to him that your good old friend John Deaver's looking over you, and he was getting upset, and he was like, I hope they're not looking for me to join him up there. I hope he's not looking for some company. I was like, we're not sending you up there, Jerry. We're not letting you go up there yet. But I love Jerry Media. Honestly, growing up from Harold's Cross, like, he's just such a gentleman. He always has a story, always has a joke, and I couldn't be happier for him. And Mert Leahy as well. I mean, his kennel is flying, and Flas Arad. I was struggling with the pronunciation as well, so you're not the only one there. But they both ran a cracker. My nephew was in there on Saturday, and he was asking me how I thought the race would play out, and I did say one would lead, because that's been running. But I wasn't expecting such a good performance. Yeah, it was the slowest Oaks time in years. You could say, if you're looking back, it was always 28-14, 15, 16. But she ran a hell of a race. And the exciting thing is, all of these finalists, we're going to see so much of them throughout the rest of the year. There's so much more competitions to look forward to and upcoming. So God knows there's another classic winner in there for Julie and Flasserade, and maybe another one for Droopy's Fidget. She already won the Select Stakes. Mandolin winning in Galway, and they're all brilliant bitches in their own right, but there has to be a winner, or in this case, has to be two winners. And it was, we'll be talking about this for years and years.
Yeah, we certainly won't forget this year's Oaks in a hurry. So yeah, the spoils do belong to Lucky Julie and Flasserade. Let's just talk about the hard luck stories in the race, I suppose, Tommy. Obviously, Droopy's Mandolin was the red hot favourite for the race. And look, hindsight's a great thing. When we did say last week on the show that she would need to do everything right. Look, obviously she didn't do everything right. I suppose it was hard with the early pace up her inside, especially when Droopy's Fidget took a flyer and then one drove up the inside Flasserade. But yeah, she carried no luck at all, Droopy's Mandolin.
She didn't because she I suppose a characteristic of her, or her running, a trait of her recently, is that she doesn't really fly out of boxes. She shows a nice bit of early pace, but Robert had Droopy's Fidget in two, who got out of boxes really quickly, and Droopy's Edel broke and kind of lent in a little bit as is her way. Like, she actually missed it by her own standards. She missed it slightly, Droopy's Edel, because she can really fly out, and it's funny. I was talking about a few minutes ago, saying about how a neck became about 6 lengths by halfway. It's hard enough to see exactly what happened at the first one. Maybe Droopy's Fidget kind of got a little bit of trouble and moved off a little bit and caused a bit of a knock-on effect, and that allowed maybe a Lucky Julie to kind of make up the ground quite rapidly. But I still think that the likes of Droopy's Edel ran a remarkable race to be beaten half a length. I really do. A remarkable race. It just didn't happen for Droopy's Mandolin, but that was kind of the danger. Look, she possibly on her very best form, she deserved to be favoured. But I think we all kind of knew that there were dangers abound with the early pace. You've got to fly, you've got to lead the two inside you, really, in that sort of company. Because you're not going to get away with much in the times they can do, and the kind of the races you get away with it in some sort of company. When you get to this level, we talked about it from the start. Like, there was hot company all the way through the Oaks, really, really good quality. That's just the way it is in Ireland the last maybe 5 or 6 years. The the depth of standard, not just having one or two standouts, but the depth of quality among the bitches for years now has been remarkable. So you're not going to get away with it. There are going to be loads of hard luck stories in finals like this, but there's just something about it. We talked about the people saying, oh, the one definitely held on and 6 definitely got up. In my experience, I would always say that the one that's coming from behind is the one that most likely got there, because they're finishing so fast, and literally they were. I mean, the amount of ground that Lucky Julie made up in the last few yards is remarkable. So I don't think anybody could possibly say it's one way or the other. I don't think certainly not looking at it from even if you're standing on the line. I don't care how experienced you are, even if you're standing on the line on the night, staring at that finish, you can tell for definite, because the difference in speed. If they were both finishing, if they're both, they were neck and neck going to the line, oftentimes you can tell. But one of them is going backwards at a rate of knots, one of them is going forward at a rate of knots, and all of a sudden they hit the line together. And how anybody can tell that in literally a millimeter or less than a millimeter of film that one of them's in front, I don't know. I'm kind of happy with the result. I'll be honest about it. I think it's a good result in many, many ways.
Yeah, and they were wide apart as well, so it's very hard to judge to the naked eye. Sarah, obviously we're going to be talking for a long time about a Lucky Julie and Flash Raid, but it's hard to believe that Droopy Adele was only a half length back in third place. She ran an absolute cracker, and nobody's really speaking about her because it's all about the top two.
Yeah, that's true enough, really. But that's kind of what we do when we're looking at finals. We always talk about the winners, but I think we'll see Droopy's Adele. I think she'd be good if she stepped up and tripped too, to be fair. I don't think she's stuck to the one sort of distance. I think Ian Riley will know better, and Sean Dunphy, obviously. But it was great for the Droopies lads to get 3 finalists as well. That's a pretty big achievement. I seen Aoife Dunphy put something up on Twitter. I seen her in Shelbourne. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, but I actually love the stuff that she's putting up on social media. She's very good. But yeah, Droopy's Adele. Look, when she won, I think it was the first or second round that she won. She done 28-20, I think it was. And I said to myself, that bitch is absolutely flying. She's going to go well in this competition. And she got better as the weeks went by. She kind of found herself, she's clever enough when she's running, if you know what I mean. She's avoiding trouble, and do you know the way some bitches are more, I always say this to my dad, bitches are cleverer than dogs. When they're on the track, they track better, if you know what I mean. And she's cleverer the way she runs. And I think that helped her progress each round. Look, she's a brilliant bitch. I can't wait to see where they're going to go for her next. We've loads coming up. And the way the calendar has changed around with the Derby and everything like that. Will she go for the Ledger? Will she run in the 400 in Dundalk? We don't know. That's the beauty of the game. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Tommy, as Sarah mentioned, they're going forward. Like, a few of these are obviously going to go different paths. You probably can't really see a Lucky Julie sticking to this trip for much longer. I presume she'll step up, and Flash Raid probably obviously doesn't want to go any further than the 5.25. With the Derby, probably, look, it's on the horizon-ish, I suppose, a couple of months away. But yeah, obviously a Lucky Julie will go for the Derby. I presume Mandolin and Droopy's Adele will. Maybe Flash Raid might take in Dundalk, or would you have that sort of early? Do you think, Tommy?
She didn't fly out. She didn't lead. Like, the Droopy Fidget led to the bend, and so I don't know if she had that sort of early pace. I find it, no matter how fast a starter is over 5.25, it doesn't always translate to sprinting. It's just such a different discipline. It's unbelievable. Yeah. You see many examples over the years of that. I don't know. She's entitled to improve, though. I think she does improvement in Flash Raid, as we talked about a bit earlier on. I found it funny, actually. I don't know why, last night I was going through the betting for the Irish Derby, and Droopy's Mandolin is one of the joint favourites at 20 to 1, or co-favourites at 20 to 1, which I thought was a bit short.
Yeah, with some of the big dogs yet to really come. Yeah, it looks short enough at this stage anyway, especially with bitches they can go in season as well. But look, it didn't happen for short grip. Obviously no luck carried by Droopy's Mandolin, but it was a terrific final, and certainly one that will live long in the memory. Just on their pedigrees, I was just looking back there. Julie's Paradise, she goes back to Tiny's Bud. You might remember Tiny's Bud. She got to a Derby final going back a few years ago. Well, many years ago as well. And Flash Raid, she comes from that fantastic Razzle Dazzle Pearl bloodline. So I'm sure they'll go on to, when they have their second careers as blood bitches, they will certainly throw a good one or two. But look, it was a cracking finish, and it's good we have two winners and we can share it. On to the supporting card on the night. Sarah, you were there. The other feature of the night, I suppose, was the first round of the Corncool Hullen. Some real stars in performance on show there. We will start, obviously, round 1, heat 1, and the star of the night, Tuono Charlie. He's now 9 from 9 over 6 bends. He was a real powerhouse over 4 bends, but since stepped up and tripped, he's absolutely flying. And that's one of the fastest runs I've seen live in there in a long time, 41.01.
Yeah, I think it's the fastest I've seen live ever. To be honest, I wasn't there when the track record was set, but 41.01, he was cruising. And I was standing with the guys up over at the kennel side, and everyone was saying, geez, the track record could be in trouble here, because he was absolutely bolting around the track. 4 to 6 favourite. We kind of all expected him to produce a win because of how he'd been running and winning down the deadly kennels, and he loves the 6 bends, but I wasn't expecting a performance like that. So he's really set the standard extremely high for this competition for Sharon Hunt. We went out to the clock. They wanted a picture by the clock, so we went out, and sure, they were delighted. Like, you know what I mean? It's a special moment for them, and a beautiful dog. You could see yourself in him. He's absolutely gleaming. Delighted for Hanover Phantom as well, Barry. That dog has danced every dance nearly now for Declan McDonough. He's a wonderful servant. I'd love to see him progress week in. You know, well, it's not, they didn't get a huge amount of entry, so we're already at the, what are we at the
semi-final stage? Yeah, I'd say quarter-final stage this weekend. But I think he finished second in this last year, didn't he? Hanover Phantom had a big enough price.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Maybe 20 to 1 or so. But yeah, he owes them nothing. I was talking to Declan just before racing on Saturday night. He looks a picture, that dog, owes them nothing. Yeah, Tommy, supporters of Toronto, Charlie, they knew their fate after 0.1 of a second. He absolutely flashed and trapped, and it was all over.
That's just what he does. He is, I don't know. I don't know where this dog is going in terms of ability, what the ceiling of his ability is. I mean, the 4086 done by Red Star Alfred was on Derby Final Night 2019. And that's the best run since. It was phenomenal. We've had a few 4102s in the last few years, but this fella looks to me like he's doing this at his ease. He pops out in front, and like I said to Ian a few weeks ago, he just doesn't give the chasers a chance. There's no kind of, okay, mid-race, he kind of gets a little bit flat and they start to close them. No, they don't. And when he turns off the last bend, actually, I would argue that he's about 6 or 7 in front off the last bend, and he wins by 10. He's doing it everywhere. You would worry about a dog going 750 yards. How long can they keep it up doing that week in, week out? Because it's so good. Like, I mean, and that's just nitpicking, because I'm really enjoying watching this dog. He is a star. And I talked about when he won the Deadly Kennels, I want him to come to Shelbourne and to show it to everybody else, if you know what I mean. Kind of come up and where you get a competition where you might have really truly top class 550 dogs taking a chance who just haven't had a look over that trip and have the early pace and all this sort of stuff, can really test them. Didn't happen. Hanover Phantom's a proper greyhound and has been for donkey's years. He seems to be around forever. He's a proper greyhound. He actually was the second fastest in the first round. He's beaten 10 lengths. 41.81 was the second fastest heat. It must be a record for the greatest difference between two heats in the same competition. 41.01, and there was a heat one in 42.80. That must be the greatest difference between two heats in the one competition ever. Close to us.
We'll get on to that shortly. Yeah, Hanover Phantom, yeah, as I say, did run a cracker in second, and Ballyhooly TJ was flying on back in third as well. On to the second heat again. We thought a 10-length win was emphatic. The second race, Velvet Jenny from Michael Carr, won by 10.5 lengths there. A little bit slower on the clock, 41.81, but again, another one for favourite backers.
Yeah, and this one set a soaring gallop as well, but I went onto the track to take a picture of her with Michael Carr, and as I was saying to him, I says, she looked faster than what the clock was, but he was saying that she was getting a bit tired coming home, so that would explain the clock, but she ran an absolute brilliant race. Again, 10.5 lengths. Like, obviously, we don't want to see a large winning margin like this. You want to see tight finishes, but for the first round, those things kind of always happen. It's hard to sort of predict, but I think she ran very, very well. If she keeps producing that early pace, she'll find herself in the final quite quick. Alien Emily obviously ran well as well for Ginger McGee. His kennel is going really, really well at the moment. And Hybrid then for Sean Delvin. So yeah, no, a very good performance. 6-4 favourite as well. So the punter's money was on the right one.
Yeah, 2 winning favourites in the opening 2 heats, Tommy, but she was never in danger again. Velvet Jenny again, another who made off from trap 3.
Yeah, look, it was as comprehensive a 2-1 with Charlie, just a bit slower. She didn't give them a chance. It was probably 5 or 6 lengths between herself and the runner up for a lot of the trip, and she stayed on grand. She stayed on nicely. It's a nice performance. It's just that, like, you're in against, Sarah's right in many ways. Most racing we want to see tight finishes, but we all want a superstar as well. So if 2-1 Charlie comes out and blitzes them every round and goes and wins the final by 10 lengths doing 40-50, we'll all be delighted too. So and that's he's kind of set. He set such a standard. Like, it's just he's an incredible greyhound. I just hope he can keep going with it. I just do, because I'm enjoying it. And like, I find it remarkable that some dog is that. Kinturk Road last year was a great 750 dog, and people just think I dislike Kinturk Road for some reason. Kinturk Road used to give them all a chance. I used to look at the third or the fifth bend that, like, it'd be back to half a length. He'd be going, oh, she's in trouble now. Next thing she'd pull out a little bit more. Like, she kind of kept it interesting. To want Charlie is just making it like, lads, come on. If you want to catch me, come on. But like nobody's been able to do it so far.
It's a tricky sort of a trip because like you do have to do everything right. It's a very, very short run to that first bend in the 750. And if you were to miss it ever so slightly, it gets you find yourself in trouble. Now on to the heat that we mentioned earlier on, 42.80. This was an absolute joy to commentate on. This race was. So we had Miss Minnie Holly who led up early. Carraroe Reach went up her inside into the third bend and forced her to check. But Carraroe Reach, I think, took up the running. Miss Minnie Holly was still there. Then McNeil looked long odds on going into the fifth bend. He was going to slip up the inside. He tried to. He was forced to check. Ocean Tesla hit the front, ran wide, and then Miss Minnie Holly came back and led again by and just beat McNeil. I think that's how it went, Sarah, was it?
I tell you, you've better memory than I do. That is literally the one time I go up to record you commentating and we get a race like that. It's like, oh wait, no, this one's leading. Oh wait, no, this one's there leading. And it's like, oh here. I was delighted Miss Minnie Holly won because I obviously tipped her in my column, but I was blessed to win it. It was such a strange race, it really was. But she stuck to the inside, kind of coming home, and that's what won it for her. She got up by half a length because it's not easy to hold off McNeil, as we all know. But yeah, a strange race, and the clock just proves that 42.80 because they're all capable of doing much better than that. But yeah, we'll have to see now next week how these go.
She was good over four bends for Thomas O'Donovan, Miss Minnie Holly, Tommy. But going into the fifth bend, if you're betting in running and greyhound racing, all your money's on McNeil heading into the fifth bend.
I don't want to be cruel now, but it looked like a race in which the hare had stopped because they all just from about the fifth bend. Now, like if you're getting paid by the hour, it was a great one to commentate on. Yes, you do. And by the word, Barry, because it was quite a bit to talk about. But there were so many bumps and all this sort of stuff at every bend, and it just seemed to be that it just slowed everything down. And like you never ever over 750 see all six dogs finish with 3.5 lengths in a short head from top to tail. That just doesn't happen. At the end of a 750 race, without being too cruel about it, it does look like like the hare had stopped and they're just running around on their own.
Yeah, it was. Look, I suppose as a neutral in there, it was certainly one for the neutrals. It was a great race for people in there who wouldn't know much about greyhound racing. Very, very exciting finish. On to the final heat. Droopy's Comrade here went to traps 2's on favourite. And I thought we didn't really take it up until late in the day. Sarah, he was always thereabouts on the premises, and a few of them out in front wouldn't be the strongest stayers in the world. I know Neon Lights has got good form over the distance, and he's a proper greyhound over four bends. But yeah, for those who took the short odds about Droopy's Comrade, you're probably relatively happy where he was sitting all during the race.
Yeah, I was confident enough, and geez, he was a very short price indeed, but he ran as expected, to be honest. And I think he'll come on from that as well, because I don't think he has he doesn't have a huge amount of running on his card. What's he have, 5 or 6 races or something like that? So we're definitely going to see him improve. I thought Lilu ran well. Obviously got to the Friends of Newbridge Derby final for Nuala Lynch. I think we'll see her progress as well and get stronger over the 6 bends. But yeah, Comrade was very, very good. If he keeps, if he can get better at the traps and get himself into a better position, he's one that could put it up to Charlie. I know the clock is quite different, but I just think he's going to progress. So he's one definitely to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Tommy, he was very impressive in his trial, 41.51. You don't see too many dogs do that sort of a run in a trial, first time over 750, but he was against some sort of dogs that weren't really proven over the trip. Kilcolgan Chief, I just don't think gets it. Neon Lights is a strong 4-bend dog, but I don't think he really sees 750 at the highest level. And Lilu, again, probably more known as a 4-bend dog. So, look, although Droopy's Comrade was new to the distance as well, you're relatively happy where he was heading into bend number 5, I presume.
Yeah, look, I think he's been unfortunate. If you watch the race closely, I think he's been unfortunate in a few things. At the second bend, where he's tucked in nicely going into the first bend, gets slightly squeezed back. You don't mind it. He's sitting in a lovely position in the pocket, and you say, if you stay in this pocket now for the next 400 yards, you're going to pop out and win easily. But what happened was he was so close at the second bend, he kind of checked outside the dog and then came out three or four wide, trying to make a run, and then he got caught outside the dog down at the third bend. He went to go for a run down at the fifth bend and the fifth and sixth bends. And again, he was so close to the one in front, he had to check outside. He's given away lengths doing all of this sort of stuff. Like, I mean, he did the 41.51 he do in his sleep with a clear run, and he'll do it in a race. I just there's nothing of the Toronto Charlie in the performance, but there's definitely a 41-30, 41-40 kind of run in Drubby's Comrade. I think he actually ran far better than the clock would suggest.
Yeah, Sarah, he's probably the main danger to Toronto Charlie for outright honor.
I think so.
Drubby's
Yeah.
Comrade.
Yeah, I think so. I think were Boyle's offering outright prices on this, or am I thinking of something else? Damo might have prices up for it. Let me check actually just while I'm here. No, there's nothing up yet.
Nothing up yet. We should have them for next week. On to race 7 on the card. It was the Consolation Oaks. Bit of a sad story in here, I suppose. Rathdown Molly obviously picked up some sort of an injury. She was in prime position. She broke well, led up Chelsea Pass. And just once you seen her drifting off around between the first and second bend, you knew something was gone wrong. Look, she finished the race. She was beating the distance, but she did finish the race anyway. So hopefully it's nothing too serious and we do get to see her again. She's very unfortunate. But yeah, Tommy, look, the race was at our mercy heading into the opening bend, but it was unfortunate to see her go lane.
Yeah, it really was, because she's been a terrific bitch for Des and Mary. And you know what? I would argue that she was in the form for life. You know, she won a Laurel's Consolation last year. She was in the form for life, and even to lead up that company the other night and lead them as well as she did, a clear length into the bend, a clear length out of the second bend, where it seemed to go wrong. It's desperately unfortunate because she's a terrific bitch. Let's hope she's fine, and she'll be fine and become a good brood bitch over the next few years. Let's Go Bubbles actually ran a cracking race as well, to be honest about it, because the stamina she has, that when she was able to turn relatively close, she actually ran a very good first 2 bends to move into kind of second place, and then when unfortunately Rathdown Molly went wrong, she took it up, and that was it. Good night, because she stays and stays and stays. We've seen that over the last few weeks.
Yeah, she was the winning-most greyhound in Shelbourne Park last year, Sarah. Let's Go Bubbles. She won 10 times, so that takes some doing to win 10 times around Shelbourne Park. And look, I'm sure they were all in open class company, but once she turned in front then off the sprint box, she's won over 600. She was going to be impossible to peg back, no matter how hard Chelsea Pat tried.
Yeah, I think but sometimes I even forget. Let's Go Bubbles won at Puppy Oaks. Like she's a very talented lady. She's just not consistent at the traps, I find, and that's why I actually tipped Molly in this race. I actually spoke to the vet afterwards, like straight away, and I was like, oh my God, is she all right? Because everyone loves Molly. She's a regular around, so there's nothing broken. And then I spoke to Skippy Gilbert afterwards, and they think it's a shoulder, but obviously they have to wait because they can't really check the dog after the race because they're hot and they're after running. There's no point. So we'll hopefully find out. And I might actually give him a ring today to see if she's okay. She's only 3. So if it's nothing too serious, she's 100% going to be back. And they did say that, all right. So look, speedy recovery to Molly. We all love her. But Let's Go Bubbles ran an absolute cracker. She's a very talented bitch. And Chelsea Pat, for the lad, you might know the lads, Barry, that owner.
I do know them well. Yeah.
In Swords, like, and I always try to mention them in the column every week because they read it every week and they absolutely love when they see their bitch in the paper, like. And she ran an absolute cracker. I actually tipped her to be second, but I tipped her to be second to Molly. So hopefully anyone gonna reach way, because she was 12-1, but she's a cracking bitch. She's really consistent. She's in between, isn't she? Because she's not at the standard of your Mollys and your Lucky Julies, but she's not she's better than A1 as well. So she's sort of stuck in the middle. So she's gonna find herself running against these top class bitches until she gets herself down in grade. So look, she's a very, very good bitch. But Let's Go Bubbles.
Yeah, the lads bought her. They named her after their good friend Pat Kenny, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, way too young, and he was a big Chelsea fan. So although she is a bitch, she is called Chelsea Pat. But look, I think she's won almost €8,000 in prize money. She's given them some huge nights. She won an unraced stake around there when she was very young. And look, the lads are thrilled. It was great to be even involved. They were so happy to be involved in it. But Tommy, just lastly on this race, Let's Go Bubbles. What's her trip? We've seen Owen run her over 600. I think she was. Did she go to the Cesarewitch? I'm not too sure, but she's definitely got form over 600 in Shelbourne Park. And then we see her win Consolation Oaks over 525. So, would you pin her as a 525 bitch, or?
Like she beat Rival Beach over 600 yards one time. But I don't know. Like, again, it's a bit like I was talking earlier on about the difference between 525 and sprinting. Sometimes when you change the boxes, it mightn't just go exactly as you expected. I think to be honest about it, I think she's a 525, but I think she's just capable of breaking better over 525. I really do.
Yeah, when she breaks better over that sort of trip, she's very hard to beat. And just finishing up at Shelbourne Park, I must mention Dara Geraghty, who left Shelbourne Park after 17 years. His race named after him. He sort of got caught up in the mix, I suppose. We were still waiting on a finish, and and there was gangs of people waiting for their turn on the podium. So his race sort of got a little bit lost. It was won by Edermoy Bonner, but we wish Dara all the best. Terrible nice fella. He's been with Shelbourne Park for 17 years. On to race 11, YI Bonnie Lad. He loves it around here. But I thought Nocky and Dazzler on his first run up in Shelbourne Park, Sarah, he ran an absolute cracker as well.
Yeah, he did. I was speaking to Daniel down the night before in the Race of Champions in Kerry, and he was telling me that I think he ran once in Shelbourne but had a bad experience. So he was sort of, that was in the back of his mind going up. But I thought he ran an absolute cracker. He was beaten 4 lengths by a YI Bonnie Lad, who I was delighted to see do that, because they've sort of gone around the country with YI Bonnie Lad in all these various competitions. And I was really, really taken by it was like we were getting to see the original YI Bonnie Lad when he first started his career. He ran like that on Saturday night. So I hope he's in obviously very good form. I hope he just keeps continuing to run like that, because he's a very, very talented dog. Trinity Junior as well, he's been around a while. He's a very good dog. But I was really taken by Dazzler's run, Nocky Dazzler, because he won the Conn and Annie Kirby, as we all know. So maybe if they really like the way he ran, he might be going for the Champion Stakes. I don't know. That's starting quite shortly. Like I'm not sure where they're going to go with him, but I just, aside from that, I thought YI Bonnie Lad ran really, really well.
Yeah, he's good around here when he's on song, Tommy. YI Bonnie Lad. Once he hits the front over this sort of trip, he's hard to peg back, isn't he?
He is. Like, you're doing a 198 sectional. I mean, it's hard to lead in that. I was impressed too with Nocky Dazzler. Definitely looked like he needed the run. Got a bit of a bump early. Himself and Ray's Prince came together out of traps, and they kind of knocked him back so much so that he was almost in a three-way kind of battle for second place early. Showed lovely pace down the back, and just seemed to fade a little bit late. I'd be encouraged by the run, but YI Bonnie Lad has massive early pace, and when he gets out in front and you give him a solo like that, or he earns a solo like that himself, 28:31 is a huge run. Just on Trinity Junior, we mightn't get a chance to talk about it because there's so much going on. But the unrace, the Dennis Linton unrace started in Cork, and I have a look at a half brother to Trinity Junior winning on Saturday night. Deeply impressive.
Yeah, seen that. We'll touch on that next Monday on the show. Final race at Shelbourne Park, race 12. Highview Splash, Sarah, you know him. Jerry Merriman, he's a real star for Jerry. Went off 3-1, probably looked as though he had a tricky enough draw, well met on his inside. Good support in the night for Mr. Chelm and well met. Didn't happen for those two, but Highview Splash, I said in commentary on the back straight, he's oh so strong. Look, he was a tremendous winner, but Ballyhimmock and Rex ran an absolute stormer to get so close and money beating the neck.
Yeah, Jaime really had to dig deep, really, didn't he? I'm not sure, was he injured for a while, because we didn't see him from December till middle of March, I think it was.
Yeah, he was out for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so, and look, he won there last month in 28-25, and then won. Actually, he's after winning his last 3 races. So look, maybe he's coming back into the best form he can get him into now. He's because coming back from his injury and stuff, but it was very, very good. Ballyhimmock and Rex, yeah, I thought he was going to catch him, Barry. But Highview Splash just ran on. And actually, just before we go on to the next track as well, I wanted to say Phoenix Memphis, I was really taken by his performance. I was watching it right beside the traps, and he showed beautiful early pace. So he's one to add to the notebooks for everybody, for Ian Riley, because that was only his 3rd race, I think it was. Very, very good indeed, 28-39. But yeah, Highview Splash ran a cracker.
I think he's the dog that got a bad fall in his first run, is he? Phoenix Memphis.
I think so, yeah.
In Dundalk, yeah, he was good last week.
And to run like that, because we all know, having dogs down through the years, when that happens to some of them, they never get over it. You have to bring them to a different track. They just stall, and they think of it every time they're going to run. So yeah, I just really was taken by him. I'll have to get an anti-post price off Dame O'Lonigan for the Derby now. Yeah,
I thought he was very good actually the week previously. Tommy, on to the last race, and yeah, Sarah said she thought Ballyhimmock and Rex was going to pick up Highview Splash. Halfway down the back straight, I didn't. I thought this race was all over, but yeah, Highview Splash a really, really strong enough sort for me out in front, but I thought Ballyhimmock and Rex ran a cracker in second. As too did Blast Off Salah as well. Come up here at a big price. He's not beaten too far either. He deserves a mention too.
He does run a great race, but actually Highview Splash is one of those dogs I actually like every time I see him win, and the reason being, I think he's kind of caught between 2 stools a little bit. He's a dog that has broken 28 seconds for 5.25, and I think he's a 5.25 dog personally, but his problem is he's not breaking in the very best of company. He doesn't have the early pace to get around in front, whereas when you're in your younger days and you might be up against pups or dogs, you can kind of get in there. And he's a 70-pound dog. He's not huge. He seemed to be able to get a good position and show his true ability. Whereas when he's up against the top 525 dogs, open age, and at this stage, that bit more early pace gets you into a bit of trouble. And it's hard to recover when dogs are doing 28-20 around you. Like, it's hard to kind of show your pace. You can be a 27-80 dog all day long, but if you don't get out in front, it's pretty hard to show it. So I love when I see the dog winning, because he's kind of caught between two stools. I don't see him as a Derby dog personally, and I hope for the sake of connections that he is one. I don't see it as him as that. So, but the encouraging part is, Barry, even though he held on by a neck, just that is his best run over 550 so far.
Yeah, I
And
agree with
no,
you.
I do.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I just think the track is beginning to warm up in the last few weeks to where it was. There for a few weeks where Ian, I seem to be saying to Ian every week there, I can't really be sure where the track stands now, but it's definitely getting to the quicker stages. So it is his best run, but I think there's probably a little bit more to come from him. I just worry, and maybe I don't know what your feeling on the dog is, but I just worry that he's kind of caught between two stools a bit.
No, I agree with you. I do think he lacks that little bit of early pace, and I think once he comes up against better sort of class of dogs, he probably will be a little bit draw dependent and hopefully get a run around the rails. But look, that was a good performance the other night, and that's as well as I've seen him come away from the middle. So well done to Jerry Merriman. Also well done to Jerry Melia. He didn't have a bad night either.
Yeah.
And we're going to head on down to Tralee then. On Friday evening, we've seen the final of the Callaway Pro-Am at Stud Race of Champions final. This was a cracking contest. We've seen Dash and Toro break the track record last week. The way the race was set up, I thought High Trend would lead. I didn't think Coulivanny Otto would turn as close as he did. And look, once Coulivanny Otto turned so close, we know how strong he is, and always quite lightly raced. But yeah, he really flew from the third bend, and Dashing Toro was absolutely thundering home as well. He's only beaten a length and a half. It was a cracking finish, Tommy. I don't know if you got to see the race or not, but Coulivanny Otto ran out a good winner.
I did, because it's Coulivanny Otto at what we were hoping from his early races that he would be, in terms of you remember when he made his debut in Tralee, he popped out and made all in the unraced, and he looked like a machine. And then as it got to the latter stages, you begin to learn a little bit more about him and to get a bit more experience, and he hasn't got that early pace. Now I suggest he's probably better than he's been able to show in his last three runs, the one in Toaster and the two in Tralee. He's able to break a bit better than that. But his all-round ability, because you're picking up Dashing Toro, wasn't Dashing Toro the dog that won or did he finish second in the Lee Strand? Yes, like that Lee Strand was look fair. Like you have unanimous Panther. I don't know what the draw for the Produce State final is, but I think unanimous Panthers has certainly provided the draw is half reasonable for him. I mean, that Lee Strand must be the strongest Lee Strand for years. I know we talk about it a lot and say how good it is, and it's only an A3 only in name. But like, for Coulivanny Otto to come behind Dashing Toro as well as he did and win by a length and a half, like he's a machine in ability, but things need to be tidied up if he's going to be a Derby contender. That's the way I'd see him at the moment. But then he's still reasonably inexperienced, and he's entitled to improve quite a bit. It was an 11-2 chance.
Yeah, I was surprised when I seen the price of him there, 11-2, especially with High Trend drawn on his inside. Look, you thought he was going to get a bit of room, but look, yeah, I suppose Dashing Toro went off favourite, and it was easy to see why after his track record breaking run the previous week.
Yeah, it was an outstanding final. I thought it had a bit of everything. And when I was interviewing James Corden after the race, like, I was like, "Were you ever in doubt?" And he was like, "No." He was like, even though High Trend was in front, he said, and he's obviously the Laurels champion, he says, "I knew what my dog was capable of doing, because that's his running, that's his style. He's only getting going nearly halfway through the race. And if you look at his comments on his races so far, he's nearly last at the first bend every time, and he's moving up and he's stalking dogs, a bit like a Lucky Julie. They're just picking off dogs one by one. And it's great to see, but by God, you just love to see him absolutely fly out of the traps, because he could do a run. But a very good final. You could have the two powerhouses out front, or coming from behind, Dashing Toro and Coulivanny Otto. I didn't see the race pan out the way that it did. I pictured it completely different. I thought Dashing Toro was just going to pick up whatever was in front. I thought our Cracker was going to set the pace and Dashing Toro would pick him up. But it was a very good night. €15,000 for 2 runs. Thanks to Dennis Murphy for his sponsorship. We spoke to him as well. And Ballydonoghue had a huge benefit night there, who obviously young trainer Jack Keneally plays for them. I believe he's a very good footballer. And he won one of the big races on the supporting card as well. So it was nice to see him win in his local track with his local football club there. The guys done a terrific job, Heather and all the team. Big crowd, bus loads of people coming. If every track was like that, we'd be doing well. I know it's hard to get the benefit nights and the fundraiser nights in, but they are so vital, and the place was hopping. And a very good winner in Coolavaniotto. And the supporting card as well, Barry. There's loads of dogs we could talk about. We don't have time, I suppose, to go through them all. But I asked James where he was going with Otto, and now I can't remember. Because he got knocked out of Toaster. He was obviously second in the juvenile down in Tralee. I'm not sure where he said he'd go. I think he might have mentioned the Ledger in Limerick, actually. I think that might be the next target. But wherever he goes, he'll do well, and he'll be coming from behind, no doubt, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, he will. I think
I would say, Barry, sorry. I would say that I know High Trend, his recent runs have been a little bit below his very best.
Yeah.
But I would say for those two dogs to come from behind him, it's a fair achievement the way they did it and left him so far behind, because actually when he's passed by the two of them, High Trend, you think maybe he's going to fade into the distance and finish last, but he actually holds on for third place. So for those two to pull away, like they're both seriously fast, but both of them need to just find that little bit extra at the start.
Yeah, as Sarah mentioned earlier on the show, the Champion Stakes is not too far away, so look, I'm sure these will be close to being accepted for a School of Aniosho and Dashing Toro, so it'd be nice to see them up in Shelbourne Park. Another who could go for the Champion Stakes is Dale Road Duke, my cliff dog. I wasn't going to get rich backing him at the weekend, the two's on, but look, once he does things, there was a quick word with Tom O'Keefe over the weekend, once he does things right, he's very good, 28.02. He just needs to brush up on the start and get a little bit more consistent, does Dale Road Duke, but there's no doubt about it. He has a huge engine. On to Clonmel from last night, and we had the semi-finals of the Casco Produce Stakes. Romeo Taylor, we spoke about him on the show last week, Tommy. Just lacks maybe a yard or so early, but maybe the first 5 or 10 yards, trapping is not great. But once he gets into his stride, he does have good sort of early pace after that initial period. And he just led around the first bend there last evening and went on to win well in 28.44. He's a little bit in hand on the clock.
And it's funny again goes back to the whole 5-2-5 sprinting. He went sprinting and he was missing the kick and showing massive pace into the bend. He's breaking a bit better over 5-2-5. And like on the clock, 44 is a nice bit clear the other semi-final, but there's reason for that. There was trouble in the other semi-final. It's a good performance. I'm a bit like what you say about the performance. It's not polished, and that's always a concern. It's kind of it's just not polished. You know, when you're not really going to get away with it too often in this sort of company. Now he tracked the first two bends really well, but the thing I can't see it. I can't see it on the video. I don't know what happened to Unanimous Panther at the first bend. Did he clip the bend himself? Was he clipped from behind by the winner? I don't think he was hit by the winner. I think it might have been. He might have been railed so tightly that he actually rubbed against the rail and because his head just went up in the air all of a sudden. He lost all sorts of ground. I think Unanimous Panther ran a good race. I'm just, while maybe when Sarah talking, I'll have a look and see if I can find the draw, because if he has a half reasonable draw, I think Unanimous Panther's a certainty to win. And he finished fourth, I think, in the Lee Strand, did he?
He was in it all right. Yeah, he did. Yeah. But he was a little bit unlucky, I suppose. Sarah, the second semi-final. Look, Quarry Boy, he's given Paula Heffernan some spin. He went well in the Kirby. I think he won a round or two, but it was Brendan Monsell's In Good Time who came out on top. A little bit of a messy affair. Quarry Boy was in front. Challenged around the bottom bends. It got a little bit tight, but it was in good time. We just got up on the line to beat Quarry Boy.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see the race, but I do have a lot of love for this dog. He actually, you mentioned Dale Road Duke. He actually bet him in Tralee. He won his race in 28.01. The In Good Time. So look, obviously he's a worthy now Produce Stakes finalist. I did see the final somewhere, Tommy. I can't remember where. It's on my phone somewhere. I'll try and find it and send it to you. But it looks a very high quality Produce Stakes final. And that Romeo Taylor, obviously he loves Clonmel. He won the unrace down there. He bet that really good bitch Ballymacdanica. Then I think he got to the super sprint final in Cork then, didn't he? So he's sort of been up and down with different distances and stuff like that. So yeah, I haven't seen. Based on what the draw will be, I'm going to go for Romeo Taylor to win, but In Good Time would be my next best.
Yeah, I think Graham has 3 in the final, so it promises to be a stunning final next Sunday night down in Clonmel. Now, we're just going to touch on Limerick, the Time Greyhound Nutrition sponsored A4 Derby, and you might struggle to find times on the website, but I have them here. Of course, the rules are if you break 28.90 in the first 2 rounds, you're too good. You're gone from the competition. So the first heat on Saturday night was won in 28.92. So Roger, what a training performance that is. Just win, Roger. 28.92. He won by 8.5 lengths. I'd say connections when he was going off the last bend, 8.5 lengths clear, they were gone. You need to slow down. Sing Hallelujah won the second heat. Unfortunately, 28.53. It must be a bit of a head scratcher, Tommy. Your dog wins in 28.53 and you're disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was actually talking to a fellow who had a winner in the first round heat, and he was just saying I think he got in by he was 10 spots, so he was kind of comfortable. But there were a couple of them that I think one of them might have dipped under by 2 spots in the first round, things like that. Like so,
Yeah.
look, it's very unusual, but everybody who entered the greyhound into the competition knew what they were doing, and it's a good pot, and there's a bit of fun involved in it as well, and there's an art to the training, I think.
Yeah, it is good, and it's like, your dog wins, and then you think, right, I've got my dog to win. Now just slow down and just do the right time. Unfortunately, Oscar the Grouch didn't slow down in time. He clocked 28.67 when winning heat 3. He will be gone. Infield place was fine, 29.03. Yo Total Lads, 28.90 on the butting, winning heat number 5. Sunnyback Mia was fine, 29.06. She won. Then heat 7, Hidden Jack and Cash and Hoffa. There was only a length and a half, I think, to separate them. So they're both gone. 28.70 odd was the winning time, unfortunately, for those two. Gaytime Elmo won in 28.93. Again, he is fine. Kenya Mags, 28.80, a little bit too quick in heat number 9. On to heat 10, Priceless Hero, fine, winning in 29.06. Sid's Button, 28.60, won by 9 lengths. It was obvious from a long way out he was going to be going too quick. And then the final heat was won by Lemon Anton, who dragged Clonturk Honey home in second place, 28.71. Both of those are gone. Folks, just a quick line on that competition. Sarah, what do you think of the whole concept of it?
I love it. Because it stops fellas sort of targeting these races. I have one set up for this, and you're thinking to yourself, when you get you wouldn't want to be putting in something that is progressive, and what it's because you can't do anything about it. Once you put the dog in the traps, you can't stop it from doing a certain time. He's just out to run. So it's a bit of you'd be so disappointed to yourself, and you'd be, the way dogs make liars of you, you'd be thinking to yourself, right, this dog's only doing 29.50 in a trial, and then he comes out and does 28.6, and you're like, I didn't even know he was capable of that. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a fantastic competition. Fair play to Willie Rigney. He's one of our biggest sponsors, and he puts a lot into the game, and he's been talking up this competition. He's loving the format. And he keeps, we were plugging it way before it started, and giving people plenty of notice, and it got the entry list that he was expecting. And I just think it's brilliant. I think I'll go down to it now on Saturday night, because the next few Saturdays I'm tied up elsewhere, and Corn Cuchulainn finals, and the Mullingar Stake, the Pat Curtin Memorial. So I think I'll go down on Saturday night and see, because obviously, as you say now, the first 2 rounds you were knocked out if you'd done a certain time, but now it's the gloves are off now, as they say.
Tommy, do you think we'll see some more polished performances, shall we say, in round 3 now that, as Sarah said, the gloves are off and you can go as fast as you like?
I'm not sure if you can do that, but I think it's a very strange one for punters. I know there's no anti-post betting on it, but if you're looking for the most consistent dog at around the 28.90 rather than the dogs do 28.40, it's a very strange way of looking at a competition. It's interesting. It'll be interesting. The thing with this competition, it'll be interesting to see what people say after. There's no point interviewing the winner afterwards, because he'll be delighted with life, or she'll be delighted with life. But just how people felt about it after, who were involved in the competition, to see what they thought of it. Is there a future for that type of competition? Because it's not just a kind of it's not like the Cesarewitch where they had six semi-finals and a final. This is a huge number of heats week on week, 12 heats the other night, and it's big. And it's interesting. It's interesting. I'd be interested to see what people think. A combination of those who had their dogs that were thrown out because of the time and all that sort of stuff. So just an interesting competition as well. Different, definitely different.
I like it. I thought it would have been maybe an idea to have maybe a 2-run competition for maybe the top 12 if they had gone through and gone too quick, or just to give them another run as well. That way. So we'll see. But yeah, look, I like it. Go on, Tommy.
Yeah, maybe a consolation for maybe a different type of semi-final, final for those that in the first 2 rounds who went under the time. put them all into a separate little
consolation for the winners.
For the win, for the win, and the two fast runners up.
Yeah. No, look, that continues next Saturday night down in Limerick. It's a good competition. It's interesting. Now we'll just finish up having a look at the English Greyhound Derby at the quarter-final stages on Saturday night. Of course, the first race, we'd no look for the Irish Grouchos. Duke went out, super fast. Gordon went out, and also Crafty Shavu, who won the Oaks last year in Ireland, she actually went out. But it was Gaytime Nemo, I suppose, who flew the flag for us. A winner of the event last year, Sarah. He's gone under the radar here again. Okay, he hadn't won a race since he won the English Derby prior to starting off his defence of his crown this year. He won the first couple of rounds. He ran well last week behind was a Crafty Shavu and Deladi Da. And again, he came from nowhere to beat Crafty Shavu for third place and qualify for the semi-finals. It was Churchfield Sid who won it. Droopy's pivotal in second. But Gaytime Nemo, Sarah, he's coming back to his best.
Yeah, he is. And what a time to do it as well. When the English Greyhound Derby, he runs the track very, very well indeed. I can't believe he was 9-2 actually in that heat, because I really did think I fancied him. I didn't tip him to win it now, but I thought he'd won a big race. Wasn't giving Churchfield Sid a chance whatsoever. But that's just the way it goes. At least he got through. That's all these lads want to do, is just get through in third and qualify. Like, I don't think Pat Buckley had any joy, because he had super fast Gordon and Balnabola Ed, because I was talking to the lads down in Tralee, and that's what they say, and they're like, we just want third, we're happy enough. So it wasn't to be. But yeah, Gaytime Nemo, I think it was you that said it to me, wasn't it? Like, he's just coming in under the radar, and he's one to keep an eye on. And now he's in the semi-final of the English Greyhound Derby. Just one more run to be in the final. It's a hell of an achievement and a great training performance by Graham Holland. But that's no surprise, because he's a brilliant trainer. We all know what he's capable of.
Yeah, it looked like he was making his exit, Tommy, at the third bend. He's still a long way behind a couple of days, and even turning for home, Crafty Shavu was a good maybe two lengths minimum ahead of him turning for home, but he powers home to get there to snatch third.
Yeah, and Crafty Shavu faded quite a bit, and she had been one of the stars of the previous rounds. To be fair to her, Superfast Gordon just missed it. By his own standards, capable of going up really well. It was kind of I think actually, if you watch the video of that, if that's the one the heat I'm talking about, I think a bird flew across in front of the traps just before the off, and I just wonder, did it affect some of the trapping in it?
Didn't see it. But look, Gaytime Nemo, he will take his place in the semi-final. The second quarter-final, again, no look for some of our old stars of the game, shall we say. They've probably seen better days. Ballymacfin and Balnabola Ed. Look, Ballymacfin ran with much credit in this. He was a semi-finalist in it last year, quarter-finalist in it this year. He obviously ran the track much better this year than he did last year. Maybe he was under a bit of a cloud in last year's event, but he done well to get to the quarter-finals. And Balnabola Ed, look, he's been off a long time, and to make a quarter-final, look, he's just not running on with the same flair he had. But I'm sure he'll be back this year in Ireland for another crack at one of the big events, because as I say, he was off the track a long time. But it was, Tommy, I'll start with you here. King Memphis, I don't know what to make of the dog. He's done nothing wrong, has he? I think he was beat by Swords Rex in one of the rounds, but I presume he's still anti-post favourite. What are your thoughts on King Memphis?
Well, I'm a huge fan, and I've been saying to Ian for weeks and weeks, because Ian seems to just wear green tinted glasses and not think that there's anything over in Britain. Like, this dog is a machine, and what I love about him is the fact that he's proven in competitions in the past, and that's a very important thing, because the toaster itself and any English Derby, any competition of this many runs, and he's a 6 runs, is it takes a toll on a greyhound. Some of them just aren't having the constitution to kind of go through that many weeks and produce their best every week. He's a proven competition dog. He doesn't have to lead, which is one of the things I do like about him. He's not I have to be out in front or else I'm going to sulk and finish last. He can come from. He's not going to come from 4th or 5th like to win a heat. But if he's in 2nd or 3rd, he's going to be there. I think he's a machine. I really like the dog. I'm just disgusted myself. I was going to back it. I didn't have a bet in the competition at all, but I was going to back him at the start of the competition. I'm now feeling like I kind of regret it. I didn't, but he has a tricky draw in the semi-final. He's out in 4 in the semi-final, so it just makes it trickier. I still think, because of the fact that he doesn't absolutely have to lead, I think he'd find a way into the final. I think he'll probably win the heat, to be quite honest about it. He doesn't fly out of traps, but he's actually improved. Ian did say something. I think Liz and Rob McNair had a really good bitch, Queen. I can't think of her name now, but at the Queen
Joni, I think it is.
Queen Joni, that's right. Who did a huge run before the competition, and he was kind of worried. Are they doing it a bit too soon? But King Memphis is a dog that'll do it week in, week out. He has that not fly out early pace, but he's actually breaking a bit better each week, I think. And he really goes into the bend. He holds himself well. He doesn't shirk a challenge at a bend, and he stays really well over this trip. I think he's a proper greyhound. I'm really enjoying watching him, to be honest.
Yeah, he's very good. Sarah, give us the word on our two old soldiers who we lost the weekend in the quarterfinal stage, Ballymacfin and Ballinabullet, Ed.
Ashton, they're great, aren't they? Like we've been blessed to see such talent from them both, and two big names in the game, Liam Dowling and Pat Buckley. Wonderful to see them get to that level that they can run in a competition like that and get this far. So we can be very proud of them. They lost nothing in defeat. But yeah, I liked your comment about Ian with the English dogs. Like, he tends to forget that there's English dogs in the English Greyhound Derby. Like, he just thinks it's all about the Irish. But you know what? I love his passion. But King Memphis is an exceptional dog, and why I'm man for Mark Wallace as well. He's still there. So there is, I think we still outnumber the English, don't we, with our amount of runners left?
6-6, I think.
Yeah,
6
close,
and 6.
Yeah. We had
it's really heating up.
We had a 1-2 in the third quarterfinal. Ballymac Slick got the better of the other Covey. Of course, Sarge Rex didn't take his place in this. We did lose Hawkfield Blue, who I was a big fan of. Just didn't come away as well as he can. Tommy, your thoughts on the other Coveys run the weekend? Finished second.
Is it just catching up with him? You know, he'd been off for a while after the Irish Derby, had a change of kennels, came back running exceptionally well. Does it take a toll again, that many runs? You know, six, where 6 runs where you need to be. You can possibly get away with being a little bit below it, maybe the first round, possibly the second round at a stretch. But after that, it's toaster as well. It's a tricky track. It takes a fair bit of racing. We talked about Ballymac Slick here a few weeks ago, and I was saying to Ian, I think I suspect he's the type of dog that breaks the clock in trials week in, week out. He's that fast. You'd still be a little bit disappointed. The other Kobe, was picked up at 29-12. The winner did. Beaten length in the quarter. Whether in England that'll be 10 spots, so 29-22. It's a bit of a step back from. I just worry that his Derby has run a bit. That might be harsh. He has a decent draw in the semi-final. I think he's only around about 4-1 to win it. But he'd go into the history books with a very limited book with winners of the Irish and English Derby if he was to achieve it. It would be huge. I wouldn't say it's impossible now, but obviously not if he's only around about a 4-1 chance. But from my point of view as a punter, I couldn't entertain him now.
Yeah, I'd find it hard to back him 4-1. But Sarah, when he was under the care of Jennifer, I think when he won the Irish Derby, didn't he do something similar like this? He had a real big run in maybe, was it round 3, and then a big dip in the quarterfinals before he came roaring back again. Would you write him off just yet?
God, no. Like, these guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. The dog will tell them if they need a break, if they need an easy week. Don't gallop them as much or whatever. Everyone has a different system. I wouldn't write him off, but like, you have to remember at the end of the day, these fellas will know as well after the race he could have had something wrong with him. He could have been off colour. Like, we don't know the ins and outs, so it's easy for us to say as judges, oh, he's very disappointed, but we don't know the full story. So look, it would be a hell of an achievement, but it is a tall order to win the Irish Greyhound Derby and then go on and win the English. Like, it would be a hell of an achievement. You'd have to feel bad for Jennifer. Jennifer got him to his top level to win the Irish Greyhound Derby, but then if he wins the English Greyhound, it'd be bittersweet for the connections, like, because it's in a different kennel. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know how I'd feel about it if it was me. But look, I'd love to see him do it all the same. It would be wonderful, but I think it's a big ask. He could be getting tired. You don't know. He was off, as Tommy said, he's been off for a long time. Then to be asked for 6 weeks of top level performances, it's a big ask, but he could still do it. I wouldn't write him off just yet.
Yeah, it's the first time he's faced a defeat for Graham Holland, so maybe we can pardon him one sort of below par run. But it was Ballymac Slick for Liam Dowling who got through. In the final heat, I suppose a decent enough result for the Irish. Boyle Sports Bob, the enigma that is Boyle Sports Bob, was back to his very best, winning by 10.5 lengths, beating Cost Tokyo in second place. And the laddie da, look, good to see him qualify back in third. Tommy, what are your thoughts on Boyle Sports Bob? Obviously, an incredibly fast greyhound when he gets things right. And look, maybe with the few runs under his belt, he's just starting to get used to those straps.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe there wasn't an awful lot of early pace in this heat, which is probably the case. And he he broke well enough. By his standards, he certainly broke well. Showed a lovely bit of acceleration, tracked really well, and once he was in front, I mean, like 28-68 tells its own tale. And winning by 10.5 lengths in the Derby quarter final, like he's immensely fast and he's deeply dangerous in any heat he's in, because he's not going to lead in a Derby final, you'd imagine, but any little bit of scrimmaging at all, I mean, he's a dog that's really going to take advantage of it because he is that fast. I mean, it was actually a joy to watch. I know there's trouble behind and all this sort of stuff. They're bumping and whatever else. And it's obviously exaggerates to win in distance, but he's a joy to watch in full stride. It's just how, when and how will he get into full stride in as the company gets a bit hotter. I'm not sure. I think the draw actually, there's 3 Irish dogs in one of the heats next week, and I think they're in 1, 4, and 6. I think they're 1, 4, and 6 maybe, and they're all well drawn. Would you believe they are, in terms of no excuses? So whatever's good enough is going to win. He has his draw. Obviously, the wide seed. I like this. The Laddie Da finished third because of the Laddie Da things. When he hits it, he's really, really good. But when he can get himself into a lot of trouble by missing it slightly, and that's, it's that consistency at the boxes. Ian and myself are probably still in tears over this ground. They're back in the 50s to win the Derby last year, the Irish Derby last year. To see him getting knocked out when he was about 9-4 to win the competition, getting knocked out in the semi-final. He's immensely fast, and there are slight similarities between himself and Ballsports Bob, in the sense that when they get on the bunny, they're immensely fast. He has a little bit more early pace than Ballsports Bob, and if they were side by side in a final, you'd say you'd favour the Laddie Da. Although you could argue that if he's out in 5, he's probably in a bit of trouble. I don't know. I think Paul Hennessy knows what it is to win these big competitions, and this is I'd say this is a dog that he liked a lot. If Ian was on now, he'd be raving about the performance, because I think he said he backed it anti-posted about 100 to 1 or something. He had small money in it just as an interest, so he'd be delighted with life in Ballsports Bob. Yeah, what do you make of him, Barry?
Yeah, look, he's incredibly fast. He's a little bit frustrating. He seems to be chalk and cheese. And before the competition started, they trialled over there and he clocked a 4:02 section. Clocking 4:02 is a wide seed. You're going to be bang there on the shoulder of anything with real good early pace. And the fact that he's clever enough, he does stay out wide. And I can't see him not qualifying for the final. I'll put it that way. I think he will qualify. I think there's a lot of dogs in here who need to be out in front or thereabouts. He doesn't. And the previous week when he qualified, he came from Stonelass to the third bend to qualify. So Barry gets put on the floor. I think he definitely qualifies. So as outright honours, I suppose now he's probably the safest bet, if you know what I mean. He should get to a final, but I think the Laddie Da is every bit as quick as him. And I thought I read somewhere that the sectionals from the third bend home, I think the Laddie Da was actually the quickest when he won last week. So the Laddie Da would be hard to peg back. But look, if you've seen the Laddie Da sectionals, it's littered with like 4:20 and then bang 4:01. You know the way you just don't know what you're going to get. So look, if he does fly out, he's going to be very, very hard to beat. Sarah, the final word to you at this stage of the competition: which is best of the Irish? We're back with the green glasses on us again. Don't mind that King Memphis stuff.
Oh God, the pressure. Who's the best of the Irish? God. I really like Ballsports Bob. He was very good in the Easter Cup. I do love him. But you're relying on him with that coming from behind. And I don't like putting up dogs like that, because you're relying too much on them, as fast and all as they are. I'm going to stick with the other Kobe.
The other Kobe. There you are. Tell me what wins the English Derby.
King Memphis. I'll stick with him. I'd probably be barred from this. From future episodes if King Memphis wins.
When I'm doing it, you wouldn't put an English dog when Ian Fortune's hosting the show. I'm going to stick with Ballsports Bob. That's mine. Anything else to add, folks? A good weekend of racing, good weekend of sport. Ascot ahead of us and all that.
Ascot, I haven't even thought about Ascot. We will mention, though, the Dennis Linehan Solicitors Open Unraced and Callaway Ganare, I think you pronounce it. They did tell me they thought a lot of this pup when I was speaking to them Friday night in Tralee, and then he comes out and does 28-17 in the opening round. So he's one to keep an eye on, a really good competition down in Cork. And I do have the Produce Stakes draw here in front of me. Do you want me to call it out? Have we got time?
Go ahead.
So if in trap order: Unanimous Panther, Romeo Kingpin, Quarry Boy, Silver Hill Adam, Romeo Taylor, and In Good Time. So Tommy, go on quickly.
Tommy's ears just picked up when he heard
Unanimous Panther's a certainty.
From trap 1.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'll stick with In Good Time.
There we go. So
I would say something. Sorry, Barry. Just going back to Dennis Linehan. The dog that did 28-17, did it come from behind? Just absolutely
Yeah.
remarkable, and he only won by a narrow margin. He didn't like the quality of that competition. And Randolph Scott's is the dog I was talking about earlier. Brett Lee out of IIU penalty, 28-29. If you want to see what happened to him in the first few yards of the race, nearly got carried out in over into the infield, and still won during a huge time. It's absolutely it's a serious competition this year. Always is, but like this looks like the best renewal, and there have been good renewals. It was won by Droopy's Flight Line, was it? Was it Droopy's Flight Line last year?
Yeah. There you go. Look, it's always is a good competition. Attracts a high quality entry. We will touch on that competition next Monday afternoon or evening when Mr. Fortune is back. It'd be nice, and the bronze Adonis, I'd say, when he comes back from his Portuguese holidays. That's it from us here.
There's only one Steve Beaton.
Only one Steve Beaton, Sarah. Yeah, you got the reference, all right. That's it from us here this Monday evening. My thanks again to Sarah Kinsella and to Tommy Lyons. That's it from me. Have a good week. Best of luck if you're having a bet at Ascot, and I'll speak to you again soon.